Hey, Soul Fam. Literally, Soul Fam. Got the name changed today. That was a long 30-day period, huh? I came here. I thought I would start the video a little bit early. We had quite a few people that RSVP'd, and I really want to give folks enough time to gather. So, say hi. Let me know that you can hear and see me just fine. And we'll get started in a little bit. This is a little bit different. I don't know that I've ever done a live into the group before, but I felt like this is the best place for this knowledge to be shared. You who are here in the group are so very tender to me. And so I know you walk the path with me, and I felt like this was the best place for the path to be walked together. So started the video a little bit early, just gonna let folks gather and we will see how it goes tonight. Let's see. Okay. Again, just letting folks gather, popped on early, wanted to give everybody time to get here. Say hi. Let me know that you can hear and see me okay, please. I'm going to post a link and we'll get started soon. Okay, I can see myself. So it's a matter of, can you hear me? Hi, Julie. I can't see who else is watching. From your phone, I love this. It shows you like a really small icon of who's watching. And so I can see some of the folks that are watching, but my eyes are a little bit, my eyes are a little bit old, so I can't see small things. Oh, hey, Ashley. Again, I'm going to let some folks gather. We had about 30 people RSVP, and so that's why I decided to start the video early, just to give Hi Joan some time for folks to gather. While you're here, say hi. I am giving away a free copy of Pieces of Me, and all you have to do to enter is say hello. I'll write your name down. I've got my little See the Good mug, and we will pull a name at the end of today's book reading and see who's going to get a copy of Pieces of Me. So, say hi. Let me know that you are here and can see me and hear me okay. I can see myself, but I cannot hear myself. Hello, Joan. Julie Marie says I'm sounding good. Hi, Kristen. Okay, let me get some names written down here for our drawing later. Is everybody ready for Thanksgiving? I am not doing anything. I am solo that day, and normally I would go ahead and cook myself a meal, but I've decided not to do that. So, again, if you are wanting to enter to win a copy of this book, just say hello. That's it. So, Kristen, thank you. Joan, almost. I know, thank you for the early birthday wishes. Almost. It's almost here. I don't know how I feel about it this year either. Normally it's like a day of celebration for me, my birthday, but I don't know. This year feeling a little different, I guess. Julie Marie, hey Ashley. Ashley says she hasn't caught me. She's not doing anything either, huh? Well, I'm not gonna feel so bad then. She said she finally caught me. I know, I don't go live in the group very often, but when I made the decision about a month or so ago to remove 3,000 people from the group, I also made the decision and the commitment to work with the souls that were remaining here. You folks are definitely my soul family, and so here we are. Let's see, Ashley, Nicole, hey Tiffany. I want to enter. Okay, you got it. Writing up some names here. Again, I'm going to pick out of my little cup in a bit, and at the end of the reading, and we'll have a winner. We'll have a winner, baby. Let's see. Here's how you can get a copy too if you don't win. All right. I am working from my phone. Oh, she says same, yeah. I'm working from my phone, so it's a little bit different. Hi, Emily. How are you? Nice to have you. My phone isn't wanting to show me comments, but my Facebook is. So I'm kind of screen and phone right now, so bear with me. Bear with me until we get into it. It's all good. Emily, I got you entered to win. Tiffany, I got you entered to win. These comments will appear here. No comments. It's okay. So we will get started in just a couple of minutes. Again, we had a good amount of people RSVP, and I want to give folks an opportunity to join. So give me about 2 minutes, and then we'll get started. Really excited to be doing this. Emily says I'm good, just going through a lot. Yeah. So there's a lot of planets in retrograde right now, and that that begins to lift the day after my birthday. You're welcome. I'm kidding. But it does begin to lift the day after my birthday, and so things should be quite a bit easier for everybody by then. I hope, at least, right? Okay, let's see. Let me see if I can't set this up a little differently. I'm trying to, okay, there we go. Now I think I can see comments as they're coming in. Very nice. Very good. Hey, Tamara. Hi, sis. How are you? Nice. Thanks for being here and supporting me. I'm going to enter you to win a copy, my beautiful friend. There we go. You're in the mug. You're all in the mug. Again, if you want to win a copy of Pieces of Me, just say hello. That's all it takes. I'll mail it out tomorrow. I promise. That'll be a nice Christmas gift for somebody, right? Julia Marie says, I don't know if it's you or me, but the sound is cutting in and out now. Is anybody else having that issue, or is everybody else able to hear me? Again, I'm working from my phone, so I don't have like my normal mic set up right now. I don't know how loud or not loud to be. With the mic, I can whisper and it'll hear things. And so anybody else having audio issues before I get too far in? Anybody want to let us know? Okay. Loud and clear. Okay. It must be you, darling Julie. So if you want to go in and come back in, or go out and come back in, then I think that would be great. So let's go ahead and get started, everybody. So y'all know me and I know you. That's why we're in the group together. But thank you guys so much for coming tonight. This is something, this piece of work here is something that has been a long time coming for me. And it's a very self-worked book, meaning these are things that I'm working through, and it's such an honor to be able to share my self-work with you, and I hope that it benefits you somehow. And so tonight we're going to be reading from my new book, Pieces of Me. I'm selected a couple of passages to share with you. The first is the foreword. The second is about self-disappearance, and the third is about non-negotiables. All three of these parts were extremely important when I was writing this book. They are the cornerstones of what inspired me to write this book. And so with that, I am going to present to you tonight Pieces of Me. Let's make sure I can see. You ready? Hello. I don't wear these because of the glare, but I'm not going to be able to read y'all if I don't. So I wanted to read a little bit of the foreword to you. I feel like this really brings the book and the concept of the book into focus and really sets the groundwork for the things that I'm wanting to accomplish in the book. I write really late at night. Tiffany's asking, all the way from Vegas. I write late at night. And so you'll notice that some of my longer posts, I post around 9 or 10 o'clock at night. That's when my world seems to be quieter. And although I'm not a journaler, thank you for those cute little hearts. Although I'm not a journaler, those are the ways that I journal and process. Some of those posts I share with you. Some of them I don't. Some of them are just long ways for me to express myself. And yeah, so at 10 o'clock at night, I'm writing. The way that I like to write, I'm not like necessarily a typer, but I used to be, but I love to dictate. And so I will turn my mic on my phone and just start recording. It's always a singular topic for me. One of my favorite ways to do healing work for myself is to ask myself what hurts. What hurts from the day, what hurts from my life, just what hurts. And that's sort of how this book was born, is out of me asking myself what hurts. So with that, there comes a time in healing when survival is no longer enough. It's not. Survival does not allow you to grow. It only allows you just to survive. The chaos ends, the noise fades, and suddenly find yourself standing in the quiet, unsure of who you are now without something to fight, fix, or endure. And that's where I was when I wrote this book, in quiet, in between chaos. You know what you've been through, every loss, every adaptation, every piece of yourself you handed away in order to stay safe. But when the danger is over and survival no longer defines you, there's a question that rises from somewhere deep within. And that question is, who am I now? Post-trauma. Who am I now after I've given away so many pieces of me just to survive? It's not about returning to who you were before trauma either. This book doesn't encourage that. I don't believe that you can ever go back. That version of you didn't have wisdom, didn't have boundaries, or the strength to hold you now. You are not here to rebuild her. You are here to meet the self that emerged from the fire. Discovery after trauma is different than recovery. This is really important. This is the crux of this book. Recovery looks backwards. Discovery looks forward. And so as I was putting this book together, I began following this man called Dr. Glenn Doyle. And he is a trauma recovery specialist. And I happened to catch a live of his one night, and I've never seen him live before, and I've never seen him live since. And he was talking about how recovery from trauma is a lifelong commitment. And it is. But I sat with that, and there was something that just kind of itched at me around that I agree with him, but I don't want to spend my life looking backwards. I want to spend my life looking forward. And so as I sat with, again, I think it's Dr. Glenn Doyle's words, I realized that I don't know who I am anymore. And I'm not trying to recover. I'm wanting to be someone new. Recovery keeps me in the past. Recovery exposes me to patterns that I've been repeating my whole life. I didn't want that. I want to discover. who I am. And so that's one of the most important parts of this book, is not about recovering. I feel like when I wrote The Unseen Child, it was about recovering. This is not. This is about finding who you are in the midst of the ashes. So I want to get into things a little bit deeper here. And I want to get into a chapter that I called The Disappearing Act. Again, this is one of the most pivotal for me when I was writing this. I was like, yes, aha, this is what's happening. This is what I've done. I've disappeared. And I don't know about you, but as I was sitting and writing, I started thinking about when was the first time I disappeared from myself. And it was early. I just started disappearing when I was probably 4 or 5 years old. And it was a survival mechanism in order for me to live through the trauma that I was living through. And so this is from chapter 1, The Disappearing Act, How Trauma Teaches You to Leave Yourself in Order to Survive. There's a point in every survivor's story where the self begins to slip away, not all at once, but piece by piece. It starts with silence. You bite your tongue to keep the peace. Then comes compliance. You learn to say yes when every cell in your body says no. Eventually, you stop checking in with yourself altogether. You learn to read other people's moods more closely than your own. You learn to anticipate danger, to soften, and to disappear. That's what trauma does. It trains you to abandon yourself as an act of protection, particularly if you were abused by someone. That abuser trains you to behave how they need you to behave in order to continue to abuse you. It's an act of protection when we leave the body. You don't even notice it happening. You just wake up one day and realize you've become a version of yourself that exists mostly for other people's comfort. That was me. I mean, down to the degrees that I have, they were for other people. They were never for me. I don't use those degrees. I was really just existing so that other people could be comfortable around me. And for a long time, that worked. It kept you safe enough to survive self-abandonment. But now you're here. The danger is past, and the coping no longer fits. You can feel the emptiness of that old survival identity, the space between who you were forced to be, recovery, and who you might actually be, discovery. That's what this chapter is about. Noticing that space in between. It's such an important part too. This is where creation begins. There's no rushing to fill that empty space. Just notice it. Don't judge it. Just notice. Because before you can even discover who you are right now, you have to understand why you left yourself to begin with. Trauma teaches us self-abandonment as safety. When pain, fear, or rejection become consistent, hi Melinda, the nervous system learns a dangerous lesson, that it is safer to disconnect from myself than to stay present with the pain. I'm going to say that again. Trauma teaches us self-abandonment. It teaches us that it's safer to disconnect from yourself than to stay present in the pain. You may have left yourself to avoid conflict or punishment. I did that a lot with my parents. You may have left yourself to stay loved, chosen, or included. I've definitely done that with my romantic relationships. You may have left yourself to survive an environment or an experience that didn't feel safe. I've also done that with parents and partners. You may have left yourself to protect others at your own expense. I used to do that with my sister. If she did something that I knew was going to anger my father, I would say that I did it and then just disassociate while I was being dished out whatever punishment it was. No matter what, no matter why, each time that you did it, each time that you left yourself, it was an act of survival, not an act of failure. And that's really important because as I've been working through this, I realized that I held the feeling of failure instead of sticking up to my parents, instead of sticking up to my romantic partners, instead of standing up for myself, I didn't. And it was ingrained in me that because I didn't do that, there was something wrong with me. And there was. But the something wrong with me wasn't because I was a failure. It was because I was trying to survive. Eventually, survival patterns and coping mechanisms have an expiration date. They work until they don't. Eventually, you outgrow them, and the cost of staying with them is too high. You can, however, stop leaving you. You can stay, even when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable. That's when you're being called to stay the most. That's what discovery after trauma really means. Slowly, gently, learning to stay with yourself. It's discovery. So I have a question for you guys, just to have a conversation point. When you think about your life, can you remember a time when you began to leave yourself to stay safe or accepted? Drop that in the comments. I'd like to know. Let's have a little discussion about it. I first remember leaving myself with my parents. They would lecture and go on these long rants, and I remember being a teenager, although I think it happened much younger than this, that I began to leave myself. I would disassociate during these long rants just to feel safe, because I knew that if I stayed present and I said something, I was not going to be safe any longer. Those are the first times where I remember self-abandoning. Emily, I have one. What about sticking it for special needs kids or young adults? Yeah, I mean, you should. But I want to know, Emily, when's the first time that you left and abandoned yourself? Not other people. This is all about you and how you coped with life. So I'm going to watch for some comments to come in. I see that we have a few new people, and I'm going to add them to my free book poll here. Any questions, of course, please make sure that you ask. This is a conversation, as always, amongst friends. When was the first time that you left yourself, and why? That's what I want to know. Ashley Nicole says, I was probably around 3 or 4. Wow, a baby. When I was 7 at my dad's funeral, it felt like a dream to me. I assume I was disassociating. You left yourself because that was a very difficult situation for you to take in. So you left. Kristen says, when my parents would argue and my dad was drinking, I couldn't handle the arguing. So you just left the body, huh? Disassociated. Wasn't there. Yep. Who else, please? I'd love to know and hear when you began leaving yourself, when you began the self-abandonment. Julie Marie says, I started disassociating at a very young age, and it was also due to my parents. Yes. I would just float off. I swear I would get like tunnel vision and then just be gone. Emily, when my grandma on my dad's side always put me down at the age of 10, we learned to leave because it wasn't safe for us to take that in. This is all really good, vulnerable shares, you guys. Thank you. So, I want to lead us in a little practice to help us to get in and stay in the body. So I want you to remember this when you feel like you are still self-abandoning, any kind of disassociating, Jonasing around 3, a child. Tiffany, I seem to disassociate a lot. I still do. Imagination can take over too at times. Yeah, you can. Because fantasy world is often so much better and easier for us to cope with than reality. So let's go through an exercise that's going to help you to stay in the body when you are disassociating now. When you find yourself disassociating, I want you to find a nice quiet place to sit in. And we want to slow our breathing. We want to do some in through the nose, out through the mouth breathing. We want to place one hand on our heart and one hand on our belly. Again, when we're disassociating. And we want to say very softly to ourselves, it's safe to stay. I'm allowed to be here. Then you just kind of want to notice what happens in the body, because oftentimes, again, remember, when we self-abandon, we're leaving the body. We're kind of just leaving it out on its own. And so we want to notice what happens in the body when we do that breathing and we allow ourselves and give ourselves permission to be safe to stay. Do we feel resistance to stay? Do we want to run anyways? Do we feel calm? Are there tears? There's no wrong response in that moment. Again, it's just about calling you and encouraging you to stay present with it, even when it's uncomfortable, because you're safe. This is how you begin to reintroduce yourself to your own presence. Not who you were, not as you should be, but the person that you're becoming. It's by sitting with the discomfort instead of running away. Emily said, this is why I read books. I used to read a lot too, as an escape method as a child. Tiffany says, I seem to disassociate. Imagine can take over in dreams. What do you mean by that, Tiffany? Give us a little more. I'm going to move to chapter 5. After listening to Dr. Doyle talk about recovery and me having that epiphany about, no, we don't want to recover, we want to discover. We don't want to go back into the past. At some point in time, we have to go forward. I happened to come across a meme, and it really woke me up. It woke me up to the fact that I had been leaving myself. It woke me up to the fact that I've been abandoning. It woke me up to the fact that I've been carrying out the abuse that had been carried out of me. And that meme happened to be about non-negotiables. And as I sat with that, I asked myself, what are my non-negotiables now? Now that the chaos in my life has quieted, now that the ongoing trauma is slowly quieting down, what are my non-negotiables? Who am I now? And so that's what chapter 5 is about. Knowing your non-negotiables, what you will no longer abandon yourself for. There was a day when I realized that I didn't know what my non-negotiables were anymore. No matter how much time I sat in reflection, I couldn't find one. That was disturbing to me. I couldn't find one. I could list the things that I didn't want in life, but not what I refused to compromise. For years, I had said yes when I meant no. I tolerated what drained me. I called it love, loyalty, and understanding. But underneath it all, I was disappearing. Every time I ignored the quiet voice inside, the one that was whispering, "This isn't right for me," I abandoned myself a little bit more. It wasn't until everything inside of me felt like collapse that I understood peace had a price, and I had been paying for it with pieces of myself my whole life. That day, I drew a line, not against others, but for me. You'll notice that this is when I started cleaning out followers. I started just blocking, letting go, deleting. I did with reckless abandonment, that's for sure. I drew the line, and it wasn't about them anymore. It was about me. I didn't know who I was yet, but I knew who I no longer was willing to be. And that was the beginning of self-discovery. Not by defining who I wanted to become, but by deciding what I would no longer betray myself for. Non-negotiables are not rules. They're guidelines. They're kind of the bumpers on the bowling lane. They are the inner guardrails that keep you aligned with your truth, your non-negotiables. When trauma teaches you to equate love with self-abandonment, it can feel like revolutionary to say, "I'm no longer available for my own erasure." I'm going to say it again. When trauma teaches you to equate love with self-abandonment, it can feel revolutionary to say, "I'm no longer available for my own erasure," and it has for me. It's been incredibly powerful and empowering just to take this one step and to say and to commit and promise to myself that I'm not available to give away more pieces of me. There's not much left. Creating non-negotiables is an act of devotion to yourself. It's saying, "I will not leave me again." Some examples of non-negotiables might include, I will not explain or defend my worth to anyone. No. I will not sacrifice my peace to keep a connection. I've done that so many times. I will not override my intuition to avoid discomfort. Y'all, do you know how many times I've done that? And you know my intuition is pretty dead on. And yet I still ignore it in my own personal life in order to avoid the discomfort. And some of this, and a really great example, is around relationships. I overrode my intuition because I was in discomfort about being alone. I will not stay where I am unseen or disrespected. No, I will not. That's been really tough for me to lay down that line. Really tough. I will not betray my body's signals in the name of productivity. Y'all know I will push myself. I got all this Capricorn energy, and I will push myself into productivity rather than sitting with the discomfort. I will. Non-negotiables aren't punishments, they're promises. Each one anchors you back into alignment when the old survival patterns start to resurface. It is critical to know your non-negotiables. You may not know exactly who you are becoming yet, and that's okay. I don't either. But start here. Start by naming what you will no longer abandon yourself for. That clarity becomes the foundation that you'll build everything else upon. And now you know why I feel like this chapter was so important to share. It is a foundation for which discovering you is built upon. So let's do a little question with ourselves here. What internal warning signs do you tend to ignore? This is about bypassing what you know is true. What is it that you ignore? So for me, when I am bypassing something, I ignore a sickening feeling that I get. I know better in some of these situations, in most of them. I'm going to be 52. Let's be honest. I know better. But I will get a sickening feeling in my body. I will hear spirit just screaming at me, and I ignore it. Why? Because I don't want to sit with the discomfort of whatever that is. A really great example for me is, again, men and relationships. I have ignored so many of my warning signs because I didn't want to be alone or because I needed external validation. So what is it that you've ignored in your body? What sign do you ignore when you are giving pieces of yourself away? That's what I want to know. Tiffany says, peace without constant negative judgment of the self. Yeah, that really comes down to self-acceptance. It really is sort of the linchpin of a lot of things. I feel like the path to self-love is definitely lined with self-acceptance. So what internal warning signs do you tend to ignore? Gonna wait a couple of minutes, see if anybody's brave enough to answer. I want to know. I know that every single one of you has overridden something in your life. I know it. We just do. Stacy says, my gut telling me. So you get a physical sensation in your gut. I do too. I get like a sickness. And I don't ignore it now, but I have ignored it for a very long time. And that's how we got into the situation we're in now, kids. Is ignoring myself, ignoring what I knew to be true. Julie Marie says, I literally ignore the little voice inside of me, which speaks quite clearly because I still have too much ego and I think I know best. So the ego, this is a funny thing. I was saying this to a friend today. The ego, hi Katie, the ego is your inner child and it's just trying to protect you. And so Julie Marie, when you are hearing that voice and you're ignoring it, or when you're hearing that voice inside of you telling you not to do it and you ignore it because you think you know better, your ego knows better, that's your little inner child trying to trick you into doing or not doing something to keep you safe. Emily says her gut feeling or her ears ringing is how she is one of the internal warning signs that she tends to ignore. Katie, it's good to have you. Katie says the voice in her head is what she chooses to ignore as a internal warning sign. Yeah. Why? Like, that's the question, right? Why? And a lot of that comes down to programming. We were programmed to ignore because it suited others. Tiffany says she gets a car sick feeling, dizziness, and then you get overwhelmed. And wow, that's a really big amount of like body signals to ignore. Oh my. Julie Marie says she needs to hush then. She's not going to, but you can work with your ego to help it not to be the predominant voice in your head. And you do that by talking to it like it's a child. You know, sometimes you have to very much come with the facts when you've got an upset child. And it's the same thing with the ego. You have to come with the facts in order to work with your ego, just like a little kid. So I want to go through a discovery practice with you. And again, we're still talking about our non-negotiables. Thank you for the little hearts. And this is about creating your own self-agreement. So find a quiet moment, light a candle, take some breathing, do whatever it is. And then write down just one sentence that feels like a sacred truth. Something that you will no longer abandon yourself for. Again, creating a self-agreement. One sentence, that's all it has to start is with one. Then read it out loud and sign your name beneath it. This is not a declaration of perfection, by the way. It's a living promise. It's a beginning. It's a starting place. And it's just one truth that we are no longer going to negotiate away for ourselves. Just one thing. Keep that promise someplace visible. Put it on your mirror. Put it on your computer screen. Wherever you're going to see it. And let it remind you that discovery begins with devotion. It begins with making a promise and keeping a promise to ourselves. You don't need to know every part of who you are yet. You only need to know that you will stay when the going gets tough. That's it. One small, non-negotiable truth. Promise to yourself. One at a time. Be a promise keeper to the most important person in your universe, and that's you. Hi, Suzanne. I'm going to go to my comments here. Emily, I choke up or get upset when I can't get my thoughts out. I used to do that, and so a lot of me just stopped trying. That's kind of where my self-abandonment began, is I would get choked up. A lot of you don't know this, but I actually have a stutter, and it comes out when I am in, I love that you're here, Shell. It comes out when I am in extreme duress. I'll stutter, and that's my sign that I'm self-abandoning. Yes, when I can't even like get my thoughts out of my mouth, it's definitely my physical sign that I'm self-abandoning. Hi, Suzanne. So we've kind of come to the end of my book reading, and I hope that these little bits help you to discover yourself after trauma, to recognize the ways that you have disappeared from yourself, and to reclaim your non-negotiables. Again, those things are the backbone of my book. Leaving yourself and discovering who you are after trauma. So thank you so much for being here tonight. Thank you for listening with an open heart. I'm going to pause here and take questions, and then we will do our drawing for a free copy of Pieces of Me. So, again, anything that you have that you'd like to ask about, if you'd like to ask about, Tiffany had a great question about the writing process. Stacey, you're welcome. Julie Marie, thank you for being here. I really appreciate you. Thank you, Stacy, also for the love and support. All of you, thank you for the love and support. It's definitely, you know, for those of you that have rocked with me for a while, like, you've watched me go through this, like, living discovery of self, this living recovery too. And I'm at a point in my life where I'm ready to face forward. It doesn't mean that I won't think about the past. It doesn't mean I won't continue to heal the past. It just means that the past is not where I live anymore. Right here is where I live. So with that, let's do our little drawing. If you are the winner, message me with where you would like me to mail you a copy. Okay. Everybody's ready? Okay, here we go. So, this little person is going to get themselves a copy for, oh lovely, for the holidays. And the winner of the free copy is Melinda. Congratulations. Melinda, please connect with me and send me your address so that I can get a book out to you. And may it serve you well. May it serve all of you very well. You can get a copy on Amazon, 13 bucks. With that, Tiffany says, I think you're awesome. Such a great experience. I personally feel more aligned. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Like, that's the whole point, like, is for us to find ourselves now. And I hope that this gave you a little bit of a head start. So, with that, I'm going to go ahead and close this up for the night. Thank you again for supporting me. Melinda, please contact me. I send you guys so much love. I'll be doing free readings over on the page tomorrow. And then it's Thanksgiving. And then it's my birthday. You're welcome, Emily. Thank you guys so much for being here. I'm sending you all so much love. Remember, this is tender work, but it is the best thing that you'll ever invest your time and your energy in. Lots of love.